It is over. Finish. Compita. How to know when to leave your relationship. Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome back to That's It. Being in a relationship is never easy. It's hard, just as hard as being married and being in a marriage. And when you're in a long term relationship with someone and you think it's going somewhere, you think that, this is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with and start a family with, when you notice they're not on the same page with you. And we all been there throughout our relationships. We all been through, struggles when it comes to relationship, thinking that this person is the person for us when we realize maybe the person is not for us really for real. And I can just ask you guys, and I can ask you guys that we all been in love. We all had that one person that, oh man, that we fell in love with and head over heels in love with, and that we thought that person was the one to get married, to have children with, to grow old with, to experience life, go through trials and tribulations and journeys, and we thought that, including myself, and then we thought something completely different and completely not what we expected. And I can tell you for myself, and with my best friends, when we were all through relationships in the past, and I always told my girlfriend, I gave them some type of advice that if this person is not working for you, and if this person is not giving you what you want and what you need, and if you're not seeing that potential person to grow with, then why stay? And I asked myself that the same thing too, because I've been through it as well. I fell in love with this guy and head over heels, saying to myself, this is the one. This is the guy that I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with, have a family with, and everything. And I can remember that I would do anything for this guy, meaning anything. Like if you would have told me, hop like a dog, I probably would have done it. Like Coming to America, that kind of thing. That's how much in love I was with this guy, that I would have done anything for him. And when it comes to relationships that we men or women, invest in, a year or two, 5 years, 6 years, whatever long term relationship you were in, it's hard. It's hard to walk away. It's hard to know when to leave when you know that you're not getting what you want and what you need out of the relationship. And the question I wanted to ask you guys: Do they have any interest of putting in the work? You know what I mean? Do your partner have any interest to put in the work to make the relationship strong, to make the relationship healthy, to have that communication, that this lifetime partner of yours, do they have what it takes? Do they have that interest? And you have to ask yourself that. The person that you're with, and it's a scary thing, and it's hard to ask that with your partner. I know back then when I was involved in a long-term relationship with this person that I was talking to you about, it was hard for me to do that. You know what I mean? Because I just love this guy so much that I did not want to get him upset, one, or start a fight that that he will leave or walk away or not come back, because there was times that we had an argument and he left and he didn't come back the next day at all. I had no idea where his whereabouts was, anything. I text him and call him, no response. And then the next day I asked him, like, where were you? And then his excuse was he slept in his car. And let me just remind you guys, this is the time when I was living in New York, and it was freezing cold. Freezing cold. Now, what guy in their right mind will sleep in their car in a freezing cold having their car run? I didn't buy it. I thought it was full of BS, to be honest with you. But again, even though in the back of my mind, I knew it was full of shit, bullshit, excuse me, and I knew that he was probably with his boys, staying the night, or maybe another female. Even though I knew what he did was wrong, and I did question it, and we were going back and forth, but I just loved him so much. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't have proof that he slept in his car. I don't have proof that he slept with, that he was with another chick or with his friends. I'm basically going by his word. So I let it go, even though it was very disturbing and concerning. Even my girlfriend told me, like, Cheryl, come on, you know better than this. You know that he did not sleep in his car. You know that he was probably with another female or with his guy friend. And my friend was probably right at the time. She was probably absolutely right. But again, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. That's how much in love I was with this man. And I was just so blinded by love that I didn't really care, even though what he did was wrong. And he apologized eventually that he was wrong, that he should have called me and let me know where his whereabout was. But the point was that it bothered me. But again, I didn't want to keep on pushing him because I just really loved this man so much that I didn't want him to leave and have me be home alone in an apartment in a not city but outside of the city, not knowing anyone. It was just me and him. And it was really hard. Like I really sacrificed, a lot in this relationship, meaning that, I moved from Florida to New York, not knowing anyone up there. And yes, it was my choice. It was absolutely my choice to do this. I was not being forced or led to do it. I wanted to do it because, again, I was really in love with this guy, and I absolutely thought that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this man and had a family with. And I just took a chance. I'm the type of person, I'm a risk taker, and I like to take chances and take risks. And if it doesn't work out, I can turn back and say, listen, I did it and it didn't work out. I could easily come back home. And I took that risk and I moved up there for him. And that was a sacrifice that I wanted to do. But there was more things that I sacrificed in the relationship as well. Like, for example, we had a, just, catering to him, giving him what he needs and what he wants, meaning cooking, cleaning, just doing the things that a girlfriend, should do to please their man and, to, make them happy, and vice versa. He makes me happy as well at the time. But then we had a big argument, and the argument led to something I can't remember because it was so long ago, that to the point that I stormed out, and because I was just so upset. And again, I was very young. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know at the time how to use my words. Instead of confronting the situation and talking about it, I walked away. And I advise you, men and women, do not do that. That is the wrong thing to do when you have a heated discussion, to walk out that door and just leave and not tell your partner where you're going. Now, if you living together and then you have a heated discussion, if there's another room, go to another room, go somewhere that's isolated, that's quiet, that you just don't want to go back and forth with them until both of you are cool down, and then you can resume on that topic. But I advise not to leave, not to walk away, unless, God forbid, if it gets physical, then yes, leave and call 911. Absolutely, 100%. But if it doesn't get physical and you guys are like having a screaming match to the point that you're not hearing each other, then just go to another room to remove yourself from that situation until both of you are calm. So that's what I did wrong. I left and he stayed, and then when I came back to cool off, and then he left, he didn't come back, and next you know it, long story short, I was stuck with an apartment. He left already. He had no intention of coming back, which I thought he was going to come back, even though I just stepped out and left. And I just didn't understand, like, why he would do that. Like, if you really love someone, why would you just leave and leave your girlfriend when you moved into an apartment together, and then you just left and then went somewhere else? So I was very devastated and hurt by that because of my action, and I blame myself. Like, what what if I didn't do that? What if I didn't walk away and then we could have handled the situation? Again, would have, could have, should have, But again, I did, and I thought we were going to work it out, our relationship. But to the point that, and I don't know if this was like premeditated, that he planned this. Not saying that he was trying to start an argument with me. And again, I can't remember what was the argument was about. But then he got a place, like he basically had a place that where he can stay, and it was a house, and then I guess one of his guy friends had like an extra room for him to, to crash and to whatever. So I guess my ex had that attention. Okay, I'm just gonna crash in that room, and I'm just not gonna come back. Meaning not come back and live. We're not gonna live together. And then I'm like saying to myself, well, we have this apartment together, and let me just back up for a little bit. The only dumb I made a mistake was my name was on the lease, but his name wasn't. So he had no obligation to the apartment because my name was on a lease, which that was a big mistake on my part. Again, when you're dumb, excuse me, when you're in love, you do dumb, foolish things. So either way, if his name was on the lease and then he would have left and not pay rent, I still would have been stuck with it anyway. He probably wouldn't care because at the time his credit was not the greatest. So I would have lose anyway of the situation. But he had no intention to come back and meaning to live together. He was willing to work it out, and he was willing to work on our relationship, and we could still be together, but he just didn't want to live with me anymore. And on top of that, what's crazy, he wouldn't tell me where he lived. And I'm thinking to myself, we're a couple. We've been together for almost like 3 years, and you won't tell me where you live and where you stay. And that was a little concerning to me. And I'm like, this is not right. This is just so messed up. And at that time, I should have left. At that time, I should have just ended the relationship. But again, I was just so in love with this guy that I was doing absolutely everything and anything to win him back. Meaning that, making our apartment nice, meaning like getting a big screen TV, getting furniture, getting all this stuff, to win him back, thinking that this is what he's missing if he continues to live in another place. That if I do all these things, max out my credit card, spend all this money, knowing that he has a big screen TV, has a couch, has everything, has a living room, have like basically kind of like a man cave, that he will just come back to me, meaning that we will live together as a couple. And can I tell you, none of that didn't work. It didn't mean anything to him. So basically, in my mind, I was like a part-time girlfriend. Like he had his place, and I didn't know where he lives, and he wouldn't tell me where he lived, and he wouldn't even bring me over there. But then he can come to our apartment whenever he feels like it, and then leave, and then go back to his place. And I'm like saying to myself, what am I doing? I am better than this. I should not even tolerate this. But again, that's how much dumb in love I was, that I tolerated for so long, because I was so much in love with him, when I knew in the back of my mind that this was so not right and it was so messed up. And even my best friends were telling me this, and I didn't want to agree with her at the time, but she was right. She was absolutely right. And again, I was just so in love with this guy that I was willing to turn a blind eye and not see what was happening right in front of me. And I'm like saying to myself, yeah, I made a mistake by walking away out of a heated argument when I could have stayed. However, I took accountability for that, and I apologize, but I feel like he was punishing me by not coming back and living together. But he wanted to have his cake and eat it too, do his thing on the side without me knowing where he lived, so he wouldn't feel like I would be popping in whenever I feel like it to see what he's doing. Like if he's doing something very shady. And that was in the back of my mind, that he was doing that. But again, I chose to stay. And I'm saying to myself, and I want to ask you guys this as well. Both people have to be willing, to do the work. That involves, trust, accountability, intimacy, and safety. And at that time, I didn't get all those things with him. I really didn't. Did I love him? Yes. Was I in love with him? Absolutely. But I didn't get the trust because he broke my trust because he didn't tell me where he lived. He was not taking accountability for anything. Oh, and on top of that, I found out he was cheating. This whole time when he was living in another place and not telling me, I found out where he lived. I found out that he cheated. And guess how I found out? Phone records. Because at the time, his name, we shared phone lines, meaning we shared providers. And I looked at, scrolled down the number, and I'm like, I don't recognize this number. And this was not me snooping around and trying to be nosy or anything. Maybe it was. Let me not lie. Maybe it wasn't because my best friend, she's like a detective. She was like, we were trying to figure out where he was living because it was just driving me crazy that I was his girlfriend and he wouldn't tell me where he lived. So my best friend told me, Cheryl, just look up the phone record. Just go online and look at the phone record. So we were looking at phone records and we noticed this number that kept the same number keep calling in the middle of the night, constantly and constantly. So I called this number while I was working, and this was in New York, and a girl picked up. And I'm like, who is this? And she told me her name. And I'm like, what relation do you have with so and so, my ex? And then she told me, well, I'm his girlfriend. I'm like, come again? Yeah, I've been going to his house. We've been hanging out. I'm like, oh, okay. And when she told me that, my heart just stopped. Like, like time just stopped. I'm like, how can he do this to me? Like, I did so much for him in this relationship. I did everything. I turned a lot of things a blind eye. I absolutely loved and cared about this man, thinking that he loved me too and loved me back. And that was not the case. And he was doing real shady things behind my back and had another relationship with someone else. And that's why he did not want me to show me where he lived. Because he knew that I would just pop up anytime. Because why wouldn't I? I'm his girlfriend. You know, if he's home and if I'm available, why not stop by my boyfriend's house just to hang out, to spend the night, whatever. He didn't want that. He knew what he wanted. He wanted his cake and eat it too. And when she told me that, I'm like, well, I'm his girlfriend. And she said, really? I'm like, yes, we've been dating for 3.5 years, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how often do you know where how often do you see him? She's like, yeah, every now and then. I'm like, do you know where he lived? Yes, in Yonkers. But she didn't remember the number, like the street address, where it was at, but it was in Yonkers. And anyone know who live in Westchester, New York, Yonkers is very big. It's very huge. It's big. It's so hard to, eliminate where my ex was living at the time. You know what I mean? Unless we put a tracker on his car, but we didn't do that at the time, which we should have done, but we didn't. We didn't think that. We didn't think through enough to do that. But my whole point was that was his whole plan and his whole emotion to do that, and that led me to, you know what, I'm better than this. I'm not going to deal with this. You know what I mean? I deserve better. I deserve more when it comes to relationship. I deserve, transparency, trust, communication, everything. And I feel like I was just getting just the bare minimum with him. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. And what I'm seeing is it's hard. Trust me, it's hard when you're in a committed relationship with someone for so many years and to start all over. I get it. The dating world is awful. It's the worst. Okay. I don't know how it is now because I'm, happily married. But when I was single, it was just the worst with, the dating apps of which I don't even know what the new dating apps now. The ones that I went on, were Match.com. I don't know if that still exists. Plenty of Fish. When I call Plenty of STDs because the men in there was just disgusting and not attractive at all. Christian Mingle I was on at the time. Bumble. I did that for a little bit, and then I did this one of the hookup apps when I thought it was just finding real true love in a relationship. I can't remember the name on the top of my head. I did that. It's just hard, and no one doesn't want to start all over. We're all comfortable in a relationship that we're currently in at the time. That we know this person, we know their ins and outs, we know their personality, we know what they like, what they don't like, and no one doesn't want to start all over to go back on a dating app and to put our business out there, meaning our profile, and tell us about ourselves and stuff like that, and then swipe and not swipe, like, not like. It's exhausting. I get it. Who wants to start all over? However, who wants to be miserable too? Especially if your partner is not giving you what you want. Do you want to be miserable and unhappy and start an argument and fighting constantly and not getting what you want and what you need in a relationship? Or would you rather just, take the chance and start all over. Now, I'm not saying to leave your man or your girlfriend. I'm just simply telling you what is what is more, not more, but what is. I'm just trying to think of the right word. I'm just simply telling you what. Why be miserable? Yeah, why be miserable in a relationship that you're not happy about? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense, and I totally can relate. I could totally understand because I was there at like I said, at one point in my life that I just wanted to stay because I really love this guy. I did not want him to start all over. I thought that this was the best thing for me. Like he was the only one for me when there's other fishes in the sea. There's other men out there that would treat women 10 times better, and men would, yeah, men would treat women better, or a woman would treat a man better. That's what I wanted to say. And there's other people out there that will give you what you want and what you need and treat you 10 times better than the current relationship that you're in right now. However, it's really up to you to observe and to see if this is what you really want. Now, everyone have a path, have a destination, right? But please do not ignore the path of your relationship. Do not ignore all the warning signs, especially if you put in all the work and the effort and you're doing everything that you can, everything that's right, and your partner is not doing the same thing and your partner's not reciprocating back to you, then you have to ask yourself, is it worth staying in that relationship? Is it worth being miserable and unhappy and thinking that you're going to change this person, that that person is going to change his ways or her ways because you're doing everything right? Trust me, it's not going to work because I did that, and where it got me 3.5. Well, the 2 years was good, but the 1.5 year of our into that relationship was misery. It was misery. It was sad. I cried all the time. I was a little bit depressed. I was not lonely because I had my best friend to support me and love me, but I was sad because I was in an apartment alone. I didn't have my significant other when he was just messing around behind my back and cheated on me, and that's when it drew the line for me. You know what I mean? Once I found out that he cheated, I ended the relationship right away. Did it hurt? Absolutely. It hurt me to the core because I was so in love with this man. Like so in love that I would have put up with a lot of crap. And I have. But when it comes to cheating, that's where I draw the line. Because once you cheat on me, the trust is broken. And for me, it's hard to get it back. And I can't trust you anymore. Because if you can do that behind my back, God knows what else you can do behind my back. And I can't be in a relationship when the trust is broken. I can't be in a relationship knowing that you're capable of doing that. You're capable of hurting me, and you're capable of doing all these things instead of loving me and respecting me and taking accountability. And he didn't take any accountability. He didn't apologize, nothing. He thought it was just all in my head. And he said I was crazy, right? That's what most men and women say when they find out they're caught cheating. They turn around and put it back on you that you're the crazy one. That's not true, blah, blah, blah. When clearly it was true. It was true. There's no reason for me to lie and make it up. There's no reason for her to lie and make it up. And on top of that, there's phone records to back up my story. I came with the receipts. And then you turn around, oh, you're trying to snoop around my phone, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not the case because I don't snoop around. I don't do that. When I'm in a relationship with someone, it's 100% trust, transparency, and everything. Unless you give me a reason. Unless you give me a reason, or if I'm going with my intuition, I find something off or weird, then yes, I'm going to do a little investigation to find out what's going on. Other than that, I don't snoop around people's phones or anyone things at all. Because I respect people's privacy just like I want people to respect my privacy. But with that being said, that was the breaking point for me to leave that relationship because I knew that that relationship was not going to go anywhere. I knew that I would be in misery and just suffer for a very long time. And then I would have missed every chance I probably would have to find someone else who would treat me 10 times better. And that's what I'm telling you guys that, if you are in a situation like that, evaluate your relationship. Ask yourself if this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. If this is the person that's willing to, take accountability, put in the work, listen to you, hear what you have to say, and you both are on the same page. And that's super super important. Excuse me. That is super super important to know this. And if your partner is not willing to do that, then you have your answer. Then you know that this particular person is just not for you. And why waste more months, years, decades with that person when you can find someone who can give you absolutely what you want and what you need. And yes, it's scary. I get it. It's scary to start all over. It's scary to put yourself out there because the dating world it's just not like what it used to be. You know what I mean? A lot of men, I'm sorry to say, men don't want to take the effort to take a woman out. Okay, it's mostly coffee or going to the bar when you can't really hear the person when you take them out to the bar. None of that. It's not like they're going to take you out to dinner and stuff like that. It's not how it used to be, which is pretty sad. You know, I'm not saying that a guy should spend like, a couple thousands on a dinner, or go like extremely, out, go all out, you know what I mean? But at least, a nice, reasonable, fine dinner so you can just talk to the person, get to know that person, or just like a nice cozy place that you can have like a glass of wine, a nice scenery. I don't know, it depends where you live, what state you live in, excuse me. And it's not like that anymore. It's like you meet them online, you exchange emails, pictures, and stuff like that, and then you go and you meet up. And sometimes, half the time, men don't want to go the extra mile or the extra effort because they're trying to play the field. One, which you should because you're single. You're not obligated to one person, but at least be transparent to the person that you're going to let them know that you're dating. Yeah, and then also just be honest. You know what I mean? Just be honest and be transparent. But like I said, it is scary. I get it. It is scary out there to put yourself out there to start all over. But again, would you rather be miserable or would you rather just start all over and then put yourself out there and you might find the one. You might find the one that will give you everything that you need and want and you feel safe with. That's the most important thing is to feel safe with that person. Have that trust with that person, knowing that that person will hear you and take accountability and have that safety, that intimacy, all that checkbox that us women want and men too. And not just settle because you're thinking that person's going to change. But trust me, that person's not going to change. Okay? Anything that you do or say, if that person hasn't changed by now, then he or she will never do it. And I'm just going to say you should just cut your losses. You should just cut your losses and just find someone else who will do that for you, who will love you unconditionally and be there for you. And I get it. It's hard. Like, it's hard. And that only you will know when it's time for you to leave that relationship. All I can say is it's tell you about my past experience, what I went through, what my friends went through, and the advice that I gave them, and vice versa, they gave me advice. And sometimes it's hard to take their advice because you take their advice face value, but it's hard to leave. And I get it. And there's no judgment, if you decide to stay. No judgment at all. You have to be ready to walk away. It doesn't matter how much advice your girlfriend tells you or gives you. You have to be the one to take that step, to make that initiative, to actually fully walk away. And I get it. It's hard. It's really hard. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching That's It. And just remember, before I go, know your self-worth. Know your value. Know that you are worthy of any man. Okay? That whoever you decide, whatever you decide, just remember that you are loved. You are worthy of any man who will just treat you like a queen. Because us women, we need to be treated like a queen. We need to be the prize. We need to know that we are worthy and we are loved and we are respected. And that is super important. And when you do that for us, the mountains will move how we treat our men. And that is a fact. I'm not saying that relationships are easy. They're not. They're not perfect either. But when you have that transparency, that communication and that trust and that safety net with that person, all things are possible. All things are possible. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.